Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I am Ricochet with Thunderstruck Transport. Welcome back to my channel, Nothing But Trucking. This video is going to be probably broken down into part 1 and part 2 because I don't want it to be a long video. I'm going to try to keep it each section between 10 to 15 minutes. Otherwise, it could be drawn out to 20 or 30. So basically, I'm going to give you my top 10 things that all new drivers need to start investing in. You don't have to get everything right away, of course, because there are some expenses involved. But you know, it's something you need to work towards as quickly as possible to make your job not only more effective out here on the road, but also safer and just a lot more convenient to you. So 10 things that I think are the most crucial that you need as a truck driver. And that doesn't count all the luxuries and of things, but these are some of the things that I think are primary things you need to get first. So guys, sit back and let's get the first few out of the way. All right, guys. So number one thing you need is a good tire pressure gauge. You need not the ones for the cars, but you need to go to a truck stop and pick yourself up one of these. This has got a tip on the front and a tip on the back so that you can get, you know, both your, pushing in from the outside or getting into your drive tires or into your tandems there, getting the inside tire. Tire tread, I tell you, affects, the way your truck's steering wheel, the vibration in your steering wheel. It affects the wear, of course, and, if you have a low tire, that heats up over time, and, well, you'll end up blowing a tire going down the road, and then you got to drop your speed down to 40 or 50 mile an hour and make it to the nearest truck stop or wherever it is that you need to get your tire fixed. And, now you're losing 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 hours, maybe all night. They may be full up and not be able to take you till the next morning, so always check your tire pressure. I always check my steers every single day when I'm fueling. I do a walk around, when I do my pre-trip in the morning, I certainly, I'll hit everything with a hammer. Of course, that's another thing you need is a hammer. Of course, that'll be covered in one of the other items that you need, which is a toolbox. But, take your hammer and, once you've checked your tires and you know that they're at, like 110, 115 pounds, whatever your company tells you that you want to run them at, you hit them a couple of times with the hammer, you'll be able to feel what the bounce is, hear the tone that it hits, so that if it is low, you'll know if it's low. It'll have a little, it won't be a little ping. It'll be more like a thud, but having a good tire pressure gauge is something that you must have as a driver because it's going to save you a lot of time. And if you got to pay for your own tires, it's going to save you a lot of money. So that's number one. Okay, number two on my must-have list is a good truck route GPS. This is my Garmin OTR 800. It's the 8-inch Garmin. You don't have to have a Garmin. I know the most popular ones in the truck stops is like the Garmin, the Rand McNally. They're both pretty expensive. This was like $500. Rand McNally's are about the same. I mean, you can get the smaller ones. I'm older, so I like the 8-inch tablet. It's a lot bigger. I like the Garmin, however, more than the Rand McNally. I've had them both. There you go. But the Garmin does voice-activated, stuff. So I can say, hey, Garmin, truck stops, Allentown, Pennsylvania. And it'll start searching.
Which result near Allentown, Pennsylvania, would you like?
Cancel. So it does a lot. Also down here at the bottom, you have certain things like this tells how far, let's see, what is that one? Oh yeah, how your speed is, how far you got to your destination, your time, but you can also change these and make them a lot of different things. So it's got a lot of versatility. I've got this set up to where, I've got my speed, how far I'm going to my next stop, how much time I have on my total trip, and then how far I've got on my total trip. So on the right, it says I got 1,750 miles on this trip that I'll be starting tomorrow, and it's going to take me just under 27 hours. So that means I know, okay, shoot, I can, if I want to have an easy day tomorrow, I can drive 7 hours tomorrow, leaving me 20 to do 10-hour days on, the next 2 days, which is still an hour less than normal time. But knowing how long your total trip is going to be kind of gives you an idea of how hard you want to work. Or I can run a full 10 hours tomorrow and then, break the next 2 days up into a little bit easier run. However, tomorrow is going to be a loading and unloading day. So by the time I get out of here, it's probably going to be noon. So I probably will only drive my 7 hours. That way I'm still shutting down around 7 p.m. But I still only have two 10-hour days. Or I can run 11 to one day and only 9 hours on my last day and be sitting there. But then I also have this one set up to where it shows how far I got to my next stop. So if I did, like say, for example, want to have a truck stop, like I showed, it'll show me how far I got just to my next destination. And, I still have the rest of the trip. So I know these are expensive, but having a good truck route GPS is really a good thing. Now, I've seen on Amazon a lot of different truck routing GPSs and some big ones, some 8 and 10-inch tablets that were less than $200. I don't know the software that they're running in. I've never used them. I've actually thought about buying one just to see how it works. I don't know about the build quality itself. Now, keep in mind, there are other things that you may not have that kind of money up front, so you're going to need something else. There are some apps on your phone that are that work well for truck routing. Probably the best one that I would say, Hammer is one of them, and another one is, of course, Trucker Path. Trucker Path is really big. They've got a lot of different options. They got a free one that I don't think gives you routing. So you'd have to pay, I think, a minimum of the $9 a month, I think, for the one that gives you turn-by-turn routing. They also have, I think, two other ones. One goes up to like $30 a month and also does hours of service optimization and a whole bunch of other stuff that I don't really think you need. But I've been out here for so long, maybe that's my opinion. You'd have to look at what it offers you and decide for yourself if paying that kind of money is worth it. $9 a month for, a decent one. I've got a diamond membership with them. I don't know how I got it, to be honest with you, because I didn't pay for it. It would have been, I think, $100 and some for the year-long diamond membership. I didn't pay for it, so I don't know if somehow my boss did and didn't know about it, or what is, or just a mistake. Either way, I've used it. I don't use it very often, but the Trucker Path works pretty darn good. Now, the only thing I got to tell you, though, is having your phone up in the dash. And my phone, I've got a Alcatel. It's an Android phone. It's made by Alcatel. And I've also got a Samsung. I'm recording this on my Galaxy Fold 4, but this is my work phone, and it's an Alcatel, and it's got a thermal imaging camera. So earlier today, and I'll show you the picture of the video right now, this is from my thermal imaging camera. As you can see, the temperatures up here in the dash get up to about 120 to 140 degrees. So if you are using your phone up in your dash for GPS, you may find that it overheats. So you're going to want to mount that somewhere where it's out of the sunlight, because it gets pretty warm up there on the dash. Yeah, when it comes to using your cell phone for GPS, it is something you just want to be careful of, because it can overheat. And then also because, if you're taking phone calls or listening to your music or something like that, you're always interrupting your GPS. That's why I always say a good dedicated GPS is something that you really need. And I do highly recommend the Garmin brand. I've had both, and but having a good truck route GPS is an imperative thing. All right, enough of that one. Let's move on to number 3. All right, so next in line, number 3 is, we're talking about the GPS and using your phone, having to take calls of music, you're interrupted. So what that goes in, you don't want to take phone calls without a good quality headset. It is against the law to drive a truck with both of your ears covered, so you can't have like headphone style earmuffs or headphones. If you have the AirPods, I mean, you can't use both of them at the same time, so you can only have one ear covered. So there are a few options. I mean, if you use AirPods, I mean, you just use one. I will tell you, however, that the noise cancellation of those is not very good. So people hearing you from time to time may not hear you as well using those. They're just not made for this type of an environment. It's pretty noisy. So you do need a good good headset. This one here is something similar to this. This is the Rand McNally, and I'm not sure what brand this one is. I think it's the BT650. This one does have the capability of turning into a full headset. You just somehow there you go, pull off this, and then there's another earpiece that plugs in, so you can actually use them for stereo headphones, but you can't use them while you're driving, legally anyway. These here, you know, the only thing I like these, the sound quality is impeccable. The noise cancellation mic, I can be out checking my oil or checking something in the engine compartment with the engine running, talking with somebody, and they will not hear that engine running. So these are fantastic as far as using them in the truck. The only thing I don't like about it, one, you know, you get that head, that hair screws with the hair for one. It's also, it's not very, doesn't stay on the head very well. So if you're trying to do something, you know, pre-tripping your truck or sweeping out your trailer or something like that, that doesn't stay on your head that well. But I mean, for normal, whatever, it works just fine. It slips out of the way, and when it does, it actually mutes the phone, then bring it back down, and it comes back in. So, and this is probably the most comfortable because this, the earpiece itself is so big, it actually completely goes around the ear. It doesn't sit on the ear, because after a while, that gets to be pretty painful. So, having a good one of these, this was, I can't even remember how much this was, so I should have looked at that, but I mean, you're talking a good couple $100 for something decent as far as that goes. And there's a lot of different, this one here is, like I said, is the Rand McNally. Blue Parrot makes a great product, and they got some that are pretty cheap, less, you know, $100 or so. You know, there is that. Now, I also have tried a couple of other different kinds. Speaking of Blue Parrot, there's also an over-the-ear style, you know, and this one here is by Blue Parrot. I think this one was about 99 bucks, and it's pretty comfy. This one here just sits around the ear, and then the piece goes in, and then of course you got your boom microphone, and it does pretty good. For me, however, this doesn't get loud enough for me to hear. Other people hear me just fine, but I can't hear them very well. So this, for me, did not work. I did have one other one that I've used pretty well. This is a Plantronics, and this one here actually comes in a battery case. It's the same setup as the Blue Parrot, but this one actually does get pretty loud, so it's definitely better, in my opinion, than the Blue Parrot. And this one's the Plantronics, I think 5560 or whatever. It has an extra case that holds it, plus you can also just set it in there and it'll actually charge, you know, charge the head, the pace. Now, those work pretty decently. Again, though, when you're having it in your ear all day, I mean, some of you guys I see that wear their AirPods all the time. I don't know how you do it. After a while, it just starts getting to me. So something I just started using, and I actually did a review of this on my channel, is the Bone Conduction. These are the Shocks Open Run Pro, and these don't cover any of your ear. It actually just sits right in front of this little ear piece there on both sides. So nothing in your ear. The sound quality on the Open Run Pro is actually really good. I mean, you don't get that boom, boom, boom bass like you do with earphones or in the ear, but the quality, it's still really good. I gotta tell you, it's very nice. And because they're not sitting in your ear, they're so light you don't feel them. It's got a pretty good microphone on them. People have said they've heard me really well. It's got a 10-hour battery life, and the Shocks Open Run Pro is certainly a plus in my book. So there's certainly a lot of different varying types that you can get, but I highly recommend a very good Bluetooth that's got double noise canceling and microphones, and be able to hear. So the big over the ear, the kind that makes you look like you're taking orders at the Walmart, at the Wendy's. Hi, can I have your order, please? You kind of feel like a pilot. We're going to be taking off to 30,000 feet. I mean, this is the best. I mean, the absolute best when it comes to sound quality, not only to you but to the person you're talking to. But it just, I wanted something that was a little less than conspicuous, especially when you go into the shipper and you got this big thing hanging off your ear. That's why I like the Open Runs. They're very, you can't really tell somebody's got them on. They work well, and it doesn't block your hearing, so you can still hear when you're walking across the parking lot at a truck stop, or if you're at the shipper, you can still hear all of the other stuff around you, the trucks running around you, stuff like that. So they're a lot safer in this type of an environment. So guys, trucking is a dangerous job. It's one of the 10 most dangerous jobs there are in the country, and I have been out here for 40 years. I have seen so many young drivers make the stupidest mistakes that have not just cost them their careers, but have cost them their lives, just because they're not taking it seriously. So you need to be professional. This isn't a job where you just hop in the seat, crank up your stereo, set your cruise control, put blinders on, and go down the road. You've got to be paying attention. You've got to listen. You've got to be watching your mirrors every couple of seconds. You need to be watching all of your gauges. You need to scan every couple of seconds. Anything can happen at the blink of an eye. A tire can go. An airline can rupture. And if you're not paying attention and you got earphones in and you can't hear the truck or hear what's going on outside yet, you're going to end up in a box. And that's sad to say. I mean, I've seen out here, as long as I've been, I've seen drivers dead in so many accidents that could have been prevented. The biggest mistake, in my opinion, is not being familiar with your surroundings and not having communication with people around you. You got to be able to talk to the other drivers. Your cell phone, dude, you don't know the cell phone number of that person that's driving down the lane next to you. When you're getting loaded or unloaded and you're trying to back into a spot at a shipper or receiver, there's so many other trucks going around you. Some of them are probably yelling at you, and you don't know it because you can't hear them because of what? Well, this goes into my next one. You got to have a CB. So it's imperative. So good earphones, good earpieces for communicating on the phone is a definite must as well. So let's go ahead and get into that next one, and we'll start that one. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for part one. I think we're close to 15 to 20 minutes. So those are my first top three. So come in for part two. We'll get everything finished up because the other ones aren't going to take as long as these did. But if you have any questions on any of the products, please hit me up in the comments with some questions, and I can certainly get back with you. Everything that I've shown you is available at the truck stops. Some of the headset pieces and stuff you can get off of Amazon or at the truck stop. They do sell shocks at the truck stop, but it's not the Open Run Pro. They have the cheaper, or I should say the less expensive models, which is not, and I've had those, and you probably wouldn't be happy with them. So I suggest if you do bone conduction, do the Open Run Pro. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining. Stay tuned for part 2 of this, and we'll see you on the next one.